is 1977, and Brazil is ruled by a military dictatorship. Marcelo arrives at a gas station and sees a dead body lying in front. As the shop owner comes out, he curiously asks him about it. The man responds that he was a thief who tried to escape by stealing canned foods from his shop, and he shot him down. Marcelo wonders why it is lying like that, and he replies that he called the police, but they have said they can't arrive by next Thursday, and it's already been a week. Soon enough, a police car approaches, and he wonders if it's for the body, but the cop approaches Marcelo. He asks for his document and requests that he get out of the car. Marcelo comes out, and he gets in, checking everything out. He comes outside and checks into the deck, but finds nothing shady. The cop then asks him if he could donate some money to the police carnival fund. Marcelo responds that all he had, he paid for gas. He could only offer him a cigarette, and the cop takes the offer. Marcelo drives off. Meanwhile, at the oceanography department, Officer Euclid has arrived with his men because the scientists have found a shark, inside of which there is a severed human leg. Marcelo reaches his new apartment, where he is greeted by the owner, Donna. He gives her a lift, and there are a bunch of people inside. It is a center for all those hiding from arrest by the dictatorial government. He gets introduced to some of them and reaches his room upstairs. She introduces him to the housekeeper, Clovis, who is very good at his job and does everything. Marcelo greets him, saying he needs to be in school. Then he sees the house cat, and to his surprise, this cat has a rare condition and has a conjoined face. Donna then introduces him to some of the neighbors, along with Claudia, a dentist, and a divorced woman with a kid. Donna attempts to hook them up together, making Marcelo embarrassed. Then Donna takes her leave, giving him some money. Marcelo thanks her, and she is glad to help them. Marcelo gets out his belongings and checks some photos of his wife and his kid. His son, Fernando, lives at his mother's parents' house. His grandpa, Alexander, comes in and praises his drawings. In the meantime, Marcelo has arrived there. His mother-in-law, Lanira, is both flabbergasted and relieved to see him. Both the couple welcome him and wonder if it is safe for him to visit. He has come to meet his son and take him for an outing. He tells Fernando the story about the leg found in shark. Fernando wonders about his mother, but he tells him that her memories will be with them. She has passed away, and Marcelo speaks frankly to his son. She had gotten pneumonia and couldn't make it, but they can always feel her presence by remembering her. In the meantime, two assassins, Augusto and Bobby, are carrying a woman on the deck of their car. Bobby asks him who that woman is, but Augusto says it doesn't matter. They reach a bridge, stop the car, and shoot her down, eventually dropping her body in the lake. Bobby returns home and cleans his car. He then picks up Augusto, and Bobby still wonders about the woman they killed. Augusto only responds, inheritance and envy. They drive on and reach the house of a wealthy former government minister, Garotti. Garotti has a job for them. He wants them to finish someone and show the photo. It is Marcelo. Augusto asks for 60,000 cruzados for it, excluding all other expenses, and it is agreed upon. Garotti says he wants them to make a hole in his face, make him mute. Marcelo has hooked up with Claudia. Claudia tells him about the niece of Donna, who owns this house. It is said that she was killed by her fiancé out of envy after she got a scholarship in Germany. In the present, a couple of history majors are given the work to transcribe some interview tapes from 1978 Brazil, and they begin to hear it. Back in the past, Euclid, along with a partner, read the news about the shark and a missing boy. They know that the leg belongs to that boy. Marcelo reaches the document identification office and sees all the employees arrive in a police van. Soon, the manager Anasigis arrives by his car and greets him. They all embark on the office, and Anasigis shows Marcelo his table. It's his first day of job, and the manager explains that today they are assisting Police Chief Euclid. They are going to question a rich woman for a case and want to show this office as a police station for her convenience. The job begins, and soon the woman arrives. Confused, Marcelo wonders what is going on, and his colleague Claudia explains. A little girl of 3 got hit by a car near her home. She was the daughter of the housekeeper. One of them calls her heartless because she sent the maid to buy some food, and the little girl ran after her, but she did not care to notice, and the girl got hit by a bus. They return to the office, and the manager requests everyone to work like a normal day. The cops enter, and eventually Claudia types something on a paper and gives it to Marcelo. She asks if he enjoys the company of women. He laughs when Euclid sees him and approaches the table. He asks if he is a police officer. Marcelo says no. He tells Marcelo that the woman is suffering a lot. Kids are a big trouble. Marcelo nods when Anasages comes to take him to the archive room. On his way, Anasages tells him that it is better to keep Euclid close. They reach the room, and he tells Marcelo this is his workplace. Marcelo is here to look for information about his mother. Anasages says it's easier to look for the father, take the name, and find his card. He gets a call, and they return. Anasages secretly tells him that he knows his real identity and that he is here to help. They soon hear the cries of the little girl's mother. She screams out, but the woman is held protected. Later outside, Euclid and his group approach Marcelo, wanting to show him something. Marcelo finds their behavior a bit odd, but he follows them nonetheless. They take him to Taylor's shop, run by a German veteran, Hans. Hearing them come, Hans locks himself in his room. Hans's partner says he is not in the mood right now, but he doesn't listen and breaks into the room. Euclid wants him to show his bullet scars from World War, but he is highly uncomfortable doing that. Even Marcelo wants it let go, but Euclid pushes him to do that, and he shows it, along with some more on the body. He then curses them out. Euclid says he only lets him talk to him like that because he is an ex-soldier, and they leave. Marcelo calls someone named Mr. Joao, who is helping him on his run. Joao tells him not reveal where he is on the call, as it's not secure, and hangs up the call, frustrating Marcelo. He then telegrams Joao his information. Marcelo reaches a cinema hall where his father-in-law works. Alexander forwards him a message from his son, Fernando, who wishes him a good day. After projecting the film, Marcelo goes and sits by the window. Alexander says that his daughter loved to sit by there. He then confronts Marcelo and asks him if he cheated on his daughter. Marcelo ignores the question and says they both loved each other very much. Alexander is still convinced and asks him this again. But soon Marcelo receives a call from Joao. He says that his name is on the federal police list. He must keep in the shadows. He further tells about an interviewer named Elza from the American Witness Protection Program who helps protect a lot of people like him. In the evening, one of Marcelo's neighbors, Valdemar, comes along with Elza. She enters and asks how she may call him. Marcelo asks her to call him by his real name, which is Armando. Alexander is concerned about him revealing the real name, but he is not very worried about it. They sit, and she brings out the tape recorder. Marcelo asks how many people they are protecting, and Valdemar responds, for in this town and 3 in other towns. He wonders who is paying for all these. She says it's the daughter of a wealthy family in Sao Paulo. Marcelo says he needs passports for himself and his son. They say they can make some fake passports. The conversation goes on, and Elza apologizes for the loss of his wife and Alexander's daughter. She says that the country will pay for this. Alexandra leaves, and Elza asks him about Garati. Marcelo recalls his face and turns off the tape. He says he is not a violent person, but if he could, he would bash this man's skull with a hammer. He turns on the tape again. The students are listening to all this. They have so far figured out that Marcelo's real name is Armando, and he is on the run. Marcelo returns to the story of his first meeting with Garati, who came along with his son. Marcelo has completed his doctorate degree and is conducting several research projects, such as electric car engines, leather processing, and so on. He introduces him to his colleagues, and Garati is surprised to hear that the dark-skinned colleague is British. They sit in a meeting, and Garati says that the electrical inventions they are doing here should be a part of the whole governmental structure. They are crowdfunding their business, and he doesn't like that, adding up some of the probable inconveniences of their work. He doesn't want the taxpayers' money on this, which pisses everyone off. One of the partners tries to explain that all their projects are funded by the Public Research Fund, which is very much legal. But Garati believes there's something shady in the funding, and he will review it. Then, eventually, Garati cut the funding to public universities, and Marcelo was pelted with accusations. Alexander returns to the room, and Marcelo continues the story. After the meeting, he and his wife, Fatima, sat for lunch with Garati and his son. Fatima gets up from the table mid-conversation for a glass of water. Garati makes a comment about her, and he can only sit and absorb that. He confronts him and asks if he is doing this for the lithium battery research they are doing. He funded the project himself. Garati laughs and tells his son he guessed right. He uses the university to arrange his own business. It offends Marcelo, but he keeps mocking him. His son brings out his handkerchief and shows that if it's Brazil, he should remain far away. Marcelo tries to avoid him when Fatima returns, and they are about to leave, but before that, Fatima approaches him and says he made her want to throw up, and returns further insults, eventually leading to offensive remarks. The son gets up and tries to push away Fatima as Marcelo attacks him, eventually hitting him. He says that was the first time he ever hit someone since one time, at the school gym. Elsa says what Girardi has done is treason, apart from being a murderer, further hinting at Fatima's death. She says he should be in prison. Currently, a couple of foreign universities want Marcelo, and he wants to leave, but Elsa says that they have got the information that 2 men have been hired to find him. The 2 men are now eating at a shop. Elsa believes it might take 4 days for them to reach him. Marcelo eventually gets up and leaves. There is a carnival going on outside. Meanwhile, Euclid's 2 men enter a morgue, carrying something. They take the older man outside, and the younger doctor gets out the severed leg. They then replace the leg with a cow's, give the doctor some cash, and leave. Euclid waits in the car, and they take leave. Meanwhile, in the newspaper, there's news of the hairy legs attack. Kids are going crazy over this. The car reaches the middle of a bridge and throws off the leg. After finishing eating, Bobby calls the theater where Alexander works. He wants to speak to him, and the woman connects him to the projector room. A man picks up the call and says Alexander has already left. Bobby wants to confirm his full name, but the man has no idea. He hangs up and tells Augusto that his father-in-law works in the theater. Soon Euclid's car approaches behind. Augusto greets them with excitement, and they take them in. Augusto introduces him to his stepson Bobby, and Bobby calls him Mr. Euclid, which offends him, and he says he only wants to be called Leader Euclid. He did not work his whole life to be addressed as Mr. In the meantime, at a couple's park, the leg is found lying. It suddenly rises and begins to run, eventually starting to attack all the couples brutally. The others in the apartment read this news and laugh. Marcelo has come in and greets everybody. He sits and calls the theater to forward a message that he wants to talk to his son. After that, Marcelo joins the party and reveals his real name, Armando. One of them reveals their name, Teresa. One guy says he may never have the courage to reveal his real name, especially in front of the constant, deadly threats. Marcelo expresses that he is in the middle of a deadly threat now. Claudia reveals she is as well. Donna says they should lighten up and play some music. Marcelo says he only wants to say that he is still alive and has the desire to live. Teresa says that she and her husband are leaving for Portugal. Her husband thanks Donna for everything. Donna shares some of her own life story, how she lived in Italy before World War II and then came here. She was a communist and then turned into an anarchist. She has seen and done things that she would never like to talk about. She then makes a toast with everyone, saying that, of all the bad things in life, there are many good ones, hoping Claudia's daughter will grow up in a better Brazil. The next morning, Augusto and Bobby reach a sugar factory and meet up with a worker named Vilmer, who is a contract killer. Vilmer asks if the target is rich or poor. They don't know, but he looks lavish. Vilmer asks if he has a gun, and they respond no, adding that he is a coward, and it will be easy work. Vilmer asks for 4,000. Augusto says they will give 2,000, but Vilmer is not to listen. Bobby says he is working all day here like an animal, and 2,000 is more than enough for him. Vilmer replies he doesn't like the way he talks. Augusto likes him and agrees with the payment. He takes 2,000 in advance. Alexander leaves the work when his partner checks out his drawer, finds a letter, and sees the address of Donna's apartment. Alexander leaves the theater, and Bobby keeps an eye on him. He asks the worker if Mr. Alexander is there, and he says he just left, confirming Bobby's guess. Vilmer is keeping an eye as well. Bobby is redirected to the counter by Alexander's partner and is given the address in exchange for money. Vilmer is on Alexander's tail all the while. Marcelo is looking for information about his mother, but there's no luck. Claudia can see how determined she is to find that, and leaves. Alexander reaches Marcelo's office, and Vilmer has reached there as well. Bobby is behind. Claudia is distributing the issued identity cards when Alexander reaches and calls for Armando. Marcelo responds, and Claudia is a bit confused, saying his name is not Armando. Alexander reaches him and apologizes for calling him by his real name, but he doesn't mind. He has brought in some drawings of Fernando, along with a letter. He writes that Grandpa and Grandma are very good, but he wants to live with him. He adds that he is starting to forget his mother, and he should come back soon. Marcelo confirms to Alexander that he is taking his grandson. He takes leave when Vilmer has already reached the place. He passes the crowd, and once having a clear look at Marcelo, matches his face with the photo. He then asks Claudia if that man is Armando. Claudia looks behind and says no. Vilmer then calls him by his name. Marcelo does not flinch. He calls him again, but he doesn't react. Claudia tells him that he needs to leave. Marcelo quickly passes the room and heads up to Euclid's chamber. He says that a man downstairs was harassing and cursing at them and even threatened him. Euclid asks him to stretch his hand, and he does so. He is nervous, and Euclid moves to pointless talk. Marcelo tells him he wouldn't have come here if he didn't think it was dangerous. He really needs their help. Euclid then finally asks his men to go and check for it. One of them gets up and takes someone else with a gun as well. Vilmer, in the meantime, calls Augusto to say he has confirmed the target and whether he should go on with the shot. Augusto asks him to go ahead, telling him that the shot must be right at his mouth. Marcelo brings down the two men, and they can see him by the phone booth. He says that's the man. Vilmer hangs up and looks back as the man asks if he's causing trouble, adding that he should show him the passport. One of them recognizes him from somewhere. Just then, Vilmer says he forgot his passport, gets his gun out, and shoots. Everyone is startled. The other is shot as well, but somehow manages to hit Vilmer in the leg. Still, Vilmer manages to kill them both and quickly escapes in his crippled state. Bobby is there and goes in to see the situation. Vilmer gets going, and Bobby follows him. The shot men are taken into the ambulance, and Marcelo is still checking for the documents of his mother. Vilmer passes by a crowd, and a man sees his bleeding leg. When Bobby comes following, he directs him. Marcelo grabs some documents and takes them in despite a worker, saying he can't take them outside the office. He doesn't listen and starts walking when Claudia asks what his real identity is. He only requests them to keep quiet. Vilmer reaches a barber shop, and Bobby follows him there. He sees the footsteps going into the barber shop. Just as he enters, Vilmer, hiding behind, shoots him down. He then nonchalantly leaves the place. Marcelo connects to a call with Elsa. He says he immediately needs the passports now. Euclid has reached the barbershop along with his men and sees the condition. Later in the newspaper, it is said Souther tourist was shot by a barber. Flavia asks her friend if she tried finding out what happened to these people. Danny says she tried searching online, but there's nothing. Flavia is concerned about Marcelo's case, as it shook her a bit because her family is from the same place Marcelo was from. Back at home, Flavia continues her research. She finds out the news about Marcelo's murder. It is said he was accused of corruption. Flavia later reaches a hospital to both donate blood and meet with Fernando, who is now grown, and a doctor there. He takes her into his chamber, and she talks about his father and his long search for his mother's documents. Fernando says he barely has any idea about that. He knows that his paternal grandparents were not even adults when they had his father. Marcelo's mother was enslaved in the house. She was an Indian and ridiculed for it, but his father was always known as the handsome. He says it's very hard for him to talk about his past, and he only did so because she insisted. Flavia explains her job and says she has come here because she enjoyed listening to his father's testimony, how people admired him. Fernando still doesn't want to delve deeper into this, and Flavia shares a drive where she has kept a copy of all the recordings. He says that his grandfather told him that the day his father was killed, he was already wearing all the clothes waiting for him at the doorstep. He said he would pick him up, but never could. Now, he can barely remember him. He then takes the drive, and they go out. They talk a little about each other's personal lives on their walk as Flavia takes her leave, and Fernando returns to the hospital. You were watching the recap of the 2025 movie, The Secret Agent. For more recaps like this, stay subscribed to the channel, and if you have enjoyed the video, you may also like this.